our first guest. Now, I love my wheelchair. Despite a significant disability, I can go almost anywhere in the city. But I appreciate it most when it breaks down. When it does, I go to Reckless Cycle, where its owner, Paul Dragan, gets me back on the road. Now, the whole community was in shock when we heard the news that a person had been shot in Yaletown in June. And then we discovered that it was none other than Paul Dragan. And it was then that I discovered that these small gestures of kindness he had offered to me had been replicated to so many others. For almost a week, he was in a coma. Now, the human body has about 5 liters of blood. Paul lost about 4. For several weeks, his wife Erica and his son Maximilian and the whole community held our breath. Would he live? Would he have brain damage? Paul was a lucky man, and we were a lucky community. And I can tell you, we have incredible healthcare professionals in this city. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot imagine what pleasure it brings me to introduce to you Paul Dragan.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, my family, good evening. When Sam and Lynn approached me about speaking, it was after we had met on the street and they had invited me for a glass of wine. A little wine later, we had agreed that I would speak, but the topic had not been formalized. Later, we met again with my wife, Erica, drank some more wine, and decided that community would be a good topic. To tell you the truth, I had absolutely no idea how we had decided this would be good, but they agreed that I was the right person to approach it, and like a good husband, I did exactly like my wife wanted me to. Now, this was about 2 months ago, and as the days ticked by, Erica would gently inquire as to how my talk was progressing. Fine, great, no problem, almost done. But of course, I had nothing. I was stuck as to how I could approach this and what could I possibly say about community. Then one day at yoga, our instructor started the class by apologizing that if she appeared to be lagging, it was because she and her daughters had been up since 2 a.m. working with neighbors to divert floodwaters from their home in Lynn Canyon. You could feel the sense of pride and accomplishment in her voice. It was then that I realized she was describing the sense of community that I was looking for. So what is community? Webster's defines it as a group of people who live in the same area, or a group of people with the same interests, religion, etc. Think of words like neighborly, empathy, generosity, love. Webster's also defines community as a unified body of individuals existing with a feeling of closeness and friendship. Think of compassion, brotherhood, fellowship. This is what I had been feeling and experiencing in my own community of Yaletown. Finally, the medical definition is an interacting population of various kinds of individuals in a common location. If you combine all of these, you start to get a feeling of what community is. So why do we search for community? What community allows us is the experience of belonging. Community allows us to experience belonging in the 2 most important senses of the word: to be related to and part of something, and to act as an owner, to act as a creator and co-owner. This is mine that I have built, and I will now care for and nurture. The experience of belonging allows us to feel safe and among friends, the same feeling we are all experiencing here tonight. Community reveals the interdependence between us, not our independence. Community offers the promise of belonging and calls us to acknowledge our interdependence. But why community? Why are we looking for this? Why are we, as independent individuals, seeking this experience of belonging? Community living reduces stress and increases happiness. The vitality and connectedness amongst us determines the strength of our society and our democracy. Community offers us social capital, the intangible fabric that weaves and glues a neighborhood together. Social capital can be thought of as social networks, the rendering of mutual assistance, and the feeling of closeness and trustworthiness. Belonging to a community encourages within us two very important characteristics. One is hospitality, which is the welcoming of strangers, and two, generosity, an offering with no expectation of return. Community also teaches us that our safety and successes are dependent upon the safety and successes of others. So how do we create good community? How do we create a wider sense of belonging amongst our citizens? We do this by increasing our shared sense of social capital. The social fabric of the community is formed from an expanding shared sense of belonging. As we weave and strengthen the social capital, the connectedness between us is strengthened. The key to grasping this concept is to see the power in small but important elements of being with others and asking ourselves, how are we going to be when we gather together? 3 simple ways to improve your own community. Number 1, focus on gifts. Focus on assets, resources, and talents, just like we're doing here tonight. Do not focus on weakness nor deficiencies. Deficiencies have no market value in this equation. Number 2, create associational life. Associational life is when a group of people voluntarily come together to do good, to deliver care. Associational life is when citizens are unpaid and show up by choice, not large, complicated systems where people are paid and show up by contract. An excellent example of associational life is in the disabilities world. Take people with visible disabilities out of institutions and closed systems and bring them back to the neighborhood. Watch what starts to happen. Support groups start to form, slowly, voluntarily, with lots of phone calls and requests at the beginning, but now ordinary citizens are supporting their new neighbors. Generosity has been created, people caring for each other with no expectation of return. Finally, put power back in the hands of the people. By identifying and solving problems for themselves, citizens discover their own power to act. It does not matter what the symptoms are: drugs, displacement, deteriorating housing, poor economy, shootings. It's when citizens stop waiting for professionals or elected leadership to do something and they decide they can reclaim what they have delegated to others that things really start to happen. This act of power is present in most stories of lasting community improvement and change. If you think of my community barbecue, which next year I'm not going to miss, it was organized by ordinary people who cared. And then the professionals and elected officials showed up. In closing, remember this: communities are built from the assets and gifts of their citizens, not from citizens' deficiencies. Organized professional systems are capable of delivering services, but only associational life is capable of delivering care. Sustainable improvements in community is only constructed in those places where citizens choose to come together to produce a desired future. Thank you very much.